80% of their chatbots will be AI within 5 years. So
Switzerland has for a really long time been a hub for a lot of very wealthy investors.
If a chatbot gives an investment advice, who is responsible for this?
Welcome to Heart of Wealth, your weekly pulse check on the wealth industry. I'm Will Robbins, your host for this week. Today on the show, the UK regulator has been told to urgently review advice given by AI. Swiss CIOs eschew European equities, and BBVA becomes the latest big Spanish bank to open a family office. Joining me today are three Citywire journalists: Julian Bovill from our London office, Maddalena Liccione from our office in Madrid, and Citywire Switzerland editor Fergus Horsfall. Hello to you all.
hello. Good
Hello.
Hello. First up, the UK financial watchdog, the Financial Conduct Authority, has been urged to carry out an urgent review of, quote, advice-like services provided by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, slightly strangely by a report written by one of their own employees, Sheldon Mills.
Right.
Commissioned by the board, but just was asked to provide some recommendations to the FCA on how they should deal with AI in advice amid growing concern that a number of people are going to AI chatbots for advice. Sheldon Mills came up with 7 recommendations to the FCA for what they need to do, and one of the ones at the top was to scrutinise how AI is affecting the market and whether firms are going to start to see outflows, basically, which is a concern that's been raised by banks like UBS and others. And the report wasn't sort of saying that people shouldn't be using AI. It's just that the FCA needs to define, the phrase he uses, define the perimeters, the regulatory perimeters with which AI chatbot models can operate.
When it comes to AI and wealth management, how much is already happening? You know, could I already fire my human financial advisor and appoint an AI? Like, is there a business that does this?
There is a business that does this called WealthTech, who have developed a sort of platform through Claude. It's not as pervasive as people might make out, and I think the concerns that the FCA have is not over the regulated ones, it's over you going on to ChatGPT or Gemini or a large language model of your choice. I think the firms are all trying to innovate. I mean, I was at a talk last summer, and there was an employee from Lloyd's who was in charge of their AI offering, and he said that 80% of their chatbots will be AI within 5 years. So,
thank you. So, Madda, great to have you here. So, are you seeing anything similar like this in Spain? Like, what's the situation there?
We interviewed with my colleague Diego top industry leaders for our podcast about AI, and the consensus is clear. They are actively preparing for the AI revolution, and they see the AI more like a powerful tool to boost advisors' efficiency than replacing advisors. However, the real challenge is innovate the regulation, because regulation is extremely slow here in Europe and innovation is extremely fast. So if a chatbot gives an investment advice, who is responsible for this?
Fergus, great to have you here, and let's talk about Switzerland as well, the home of CERN and the Large Hadron Collider. Is it also home to technological innovation in wealth management, or is it an AI black hole?
My colleague Richard and I are actually currently writing an article about the real concrete uses of AI in wealth management, and he's actually just been speaking to someone who's suggesting that if you look at the Swiss banks' financial reporting, it doesn't suggest that they're saving or making vastly larger profits off AI, but there are various things. So, there are marketing applications. There's potentially looking at how you customize the software for looking through the portfolios for the customers. So there are definitely hopes for it. And just this idea that maybe they can spend more time, managing relationships as relationship managers rather than doing endless admin. Then if you think about the investment side, we started off this week with an exclusive story about a new hedge fund launch that's upcoming for a firm called Tailwind. And they have It's a machine learning hedge fund, but they had a couple of interesting comments on AI where they said they use it in an advisory capacity, but that you need to be quite careful in finance because there's the potential for you to have the same inputs, not necessarily generating reliably the same outputs, and that can be a cause for concern.
Thank you. So moving on, our second story comes from Citywire's quarterly Super Allocators report. So in that, we ask CIOs from regional and pan-European private banks to reveal their asset allocations for the 3 months ahead. Now, this story is from the Swiss report, and there are versions in each of our continental offices. But the Swiss team has highlighted a key theme from their latest set of outlooks, showing there's been a move away from European stocks. So, Fergus, can you tell us a little bit more about what your super allocators are saying?
I guess a lot of it, right, is to do with the sentiment with this ongoing war in Iran, and you've got a lot of countries in Europe which are dependent on energy imports. So I think that's potentially a bit of a cloud over it. You've seen a few of the super allocators seem drawn a bit to emerging market equities as well. Then we've also got, 88% of them in the latest report are a bit negative on bonds, okay, which perhaps for a more international audience is worth noting. If Switzerland still rooted at 0% interest rates, or rather it's gone back down to that. So it's obviously a bit of a divergence from a lot of other markets. And more broadly in Switzerland, you've seen people looking at things like high dividend equities, potentially also covered call strategies and the like. Swiss real estate is potentially quite overheated at the moment. So that's something really in the mind for Swiss client portfolios.
We move on to our last story, which is from Spain, where multinational bank BBVA has launched a brand new family office for clients with assets over 30 million euros. I'm not quite there, sorry, so sad. But Madda, what do we need to know about this latest offering from BBVA?
BBVA is launching an independent multifamily office services for clients, as you said, with more than 30 million euros. It will be led by Cesar Solera, which is a very experienced private banker, which 25 years of experience. And what makes this multifamily office service unique is the strict open architecture and multi-bank models. Clients don't even need to have their money in BBVA. The service is all-in-one strategies and offers investment, tax planning, succession, and even lifestyle management. Why now? First of all, competitors. The real catalyst driving this is a booming in family office in Spain. In Spain, we are receiving a massive arrival of large fortune from Latin America because they are looking for stability. They are looking for a safe country. So Madrid is becoming a preferred hub for this wealth. They are starting in Spain, but they want to take this model to Mexico and Turkey next.
Thank you very much. Fergus, Switzerland, famously a place where the wealthy families will go to have their money managed. Just really interested, how would you maybe define a family office briefly for our viewers? And sort of, how's that market changed over time? Like over time you've been editor, for example.
Broadly speaking, I say single family office is when you're so rich you can have an entire company or group of people just for managing your own money. And then a multi-family office is that, but for multiple families grouping together. If you're really poor and you only have, say, 80 million Swiss francs, you might need to team up with a few buddies, poor people there. But I'm not sure there's an official definition, or at least I haven't seen one. It strikes me that at a certain point it's being treated a bit as an aspirational brand by some of the wealth managers, because if you say I'm a family office, that maybe implies you have the capabilities to deal with really rich people. They might have a lot of alternative investments, maybe high allocations to private equity. In terms of Switzerland's role, obviously Switzerland has for a really long time been a hub for a lot of very wealthy investors. There was, back in the day, should we say, potentially certain tax advantages The environment changed quite a bit in the last few years. I think the general consensus is that, it's a much more transparent jurisdiction. It's a very international market. You've got people from all around the world working in Zurich and Geneva. You've got teams covering the Middle East, teams covering Latin America, teams covering all sorts of markets in Europe, companies who are specializing in covering US clients as well. And even I think Santander have just opened a family office department in Switzerland.
Well, thank you very much. That's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to our production team and to our guests, Julian Bovill, Maddalena Liccione and Fergus Horsfall. And we'll see you next week.